Hey everyone, I have been talking a lot about how to customize a storyline using JavaScript. I've talked a lot about GreenSock or GSAP animations to do some of those animations, but I haven't taken it from the very beginning, and that's what I wanted to cover today. I'm currently working on my JavaScript and storyline course right here. So if you go into my website at learningdojo.ninja, and then you go into the courses and select storyline and JavaScript, this will take you to the course. If you're new to JavaScript at all, this is a great course because it puts it into context with storyline. But I've currently been working on this section for GreenSock. So GreenSock is the old name and is now currently named GSAP. But I've been working on this section of how to do all the different types of animations. So we have things like what is GSAP, how to do a basic animation, how to do easing, how to adjust things like staggering and sequencing and things like that. So I wanted to cover a little bit of that today just to kind of give you a taste of that and talk about how the new JavaScript API makes it so much easier to work with GSAP in the past. Because I have had videos in the past where I showed you how to calculate the exact positioning of objects and how to do it as close as possible because storyline was kind of weird. If you adjusted the size of the browser at all, it would throw things completely off. Now it doesn't do that. With the latest release of JavaScript API, it does not do that. So that's why I wanted to update this video talking about how you can still use GreenSock and how you can get the exact positioning without doing any additional code now. So I wanted to make sure that I created an update video for that. So this is the GSAP library. You can go into gsap.com, and if you wanted to go into Learn GSAP, this is probably the easiest way to reference some of the code is by going into your first animation. If I scroll down, it does give you some examples of animation, and it gives you a little bit of what that code is. That code, it has things like to and from to that allows you to animate different properties. Now, if I come into storyline, let me go ahead and close out the previous one here, but I have my object here on the stage. And let's say I wanted to animate that object across the stage. Last week, I talked about using the JavaScript API to be able to do that, and that is still a possibility. But I think GreenSock is a little bit more simple when you're adding that code. It's a little bit less code, and you can adjust a couple different things inside of there a whole lot easier as well. So I still think GreenSock is very relevant, even with the new JavaScript API that you can do. In fact, more relevant because of the exact positioning. So what I'm going to do is as soon as this is clicked, we're going to go ahead and animate our object. The way that you reference an object is a whole lot easier now. So if I go into execute some JavaScript, I can just select this drop-down box to select the object I want and then go ahead and click on add. That is it. That is so much easier than what it was in the past where I had to inspect, had to drill down to a certain line of code to grab the ID. That ID is now right there. Now we can just add our GreenSock code because GreenSock is already incorporated inside of Storyline. If you publish out a Storyline course, it is local. It's not trying to reference a GreenSock library somewhere on the website. It is inside. It's embedded. I've searched for it inside of the code. It's embedded inside of Storyline, so why not use it? Okay, so let's go ahead and just do GSAP, and we can do to where we want to animate our object to a certain amount. There we can do from where we want to animate our object from a certain location, or we can do from to where we can specifically specify where it's coming from and where it's going to. So those are the different options. If I wanted to start from where it's at now and then animate to somewhere else, that's where I'll use to. And sometimes it takes just talking through it to get, okay, which one do I use, from or to? If I wanted it to end up where it is now and animate from off the stage, then I would use from. So I'm going to go ahead and just keep with to here. And we're going to have an open close parentheses and a semicolon. Now inside of there, we just basically paste in the name of our object, which is going to be rectangle 1. So this puts an object inside of a variable. Now because it's inside of a variable, all we have to do to reference that object is just type in the name of the variable. That is one of the benefits of using a variable is now I don't have to type in object parentheses and that random number. Just store it inside of a variable, and then you just have to type in the name of the variable anywhere that you're going to use it. All right, so I'm going to just go ahead and after the name of that variable, add a comma, and then open close curly brackets. Inside of those curly brackets are the different properties that I'm going to change. Animation is all about changing properties. I'm going to click OK here. And if you don't know what properties are, essentially if you select an object and you go into format, these are your different properties. Where it's positioned, the X and the Y value, the width and the height, those are different properties. Any of those properties we can animate. We can animate the scale, we can animate the opacity, we can animate the width, we can animate the height, we can animate the X and the Y value. Those are different things that we can animate. So keeping that in mind is currently the X value is set at 94. I want to animate this over to right about here. Now, moving that over here, I can tell that's about 816. So if I do a Control Z to move that back, I know I want to move my object to about 816. So it helps sometimes to move the object over kind of where you want it to end up and get the numbers there. Because now I can go back into my GreenSock code and all I have to do is type in, and you can add a space if you wanted to, just to kind of make it a little bit more readable. So I type in the name of the property that I'm going to animate and then what the value is that it's going to end up at. Because we're animating to this, this is where it's going to end up, which in this case, it's going to be 800. If I'm just animating the X value, that's all I have to do. Now, if I go ahead and click OK, it is going to preview that animation. This is why in my last video, if you check out last week's video, it does cover how to do animation in the new JavaScript API. But you had to wrap it up inside of an update value, or you had to type in more code with easing and stuff like that. So this is why I think it's a whole lot easier. Let me change this back to a desktop view. And I'm going to click on this square, and you can see now it's animated. So I did not need to wrap it up inside of some update value. It just animated over for me. Now I can change things about this animation. I can also add on more properties. So if I come in here, I can add on a comma, and then let's also animate it to 0. So it's going to move it up to the top there. And again, I can add some spaces if I wanted to. And I'm going to click OK. Now let's go ahead and preview that again. And this is exact positioning. I'll show you that because I'll resize this and show you that it doesn't matter. It's going to go in this position every single time. Now keep in mind that the position is going to be aligned to the top left-hand side. So that is really where I'm positioning. If I want it to be the very top here, I can go ahead and click on that and you can see that it moves it to the top. That is 0. If I wanted this to be the X value to be 0, it would place it right here. Now there's a couple different calculations that I can do if I wanted to move it out to the top right-hand side, for example. This would be, the Y value would be 0, but because it aligns it to the top left-hand side, if I did 1000, which is the stage right here, it would actually place it off the stage because the stage width is 1000. So I want to have it in the top right-hand corner, but I don't want it off the stage. So there's a couple things that I can do. So what I would do is I would figure out what the slide width is. Now I could actually just type in 1000 if I wanted to, or using the new JavaScript API, you can just do slide width, open close parentheses. And then you can minus the rectangle 1.width because we want to minus the width to keep it on the stage. So just by using some of the JavaScript API, now I can move it to the top right-hand side. Now, this does complicate the code a little bit more. I'm going to preview this, but then I'm going to show you how to, if you wanted to simplify it and place that calculation inside of a variable, you can do that. But I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and you can see it positions it to the top right-hand corner. If I wanted it to be the bottom right-hand corner, I would need to do the stage height in the same way that I'm doing the stage width. So basically, I would come in here and do slide height, open close parentheses, minus, and then we would do rectangle 1.height. So we're going to minus the height so it stays in the corner there. Now let's preview that. And I will paste the code down below in the video so you can check that out. So you don't have to memorize that code, or you can reference the JavaScript API as well. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and you can see now it positions it in the bottom right-hand corner. This is what I'm talking about because before you could do something like this, but if you ever resize the browser, or if you tried it in a different size or tablets or phone or anything like that, it would throw it off. It would actually go off the stage in this case because it's a different X and Y value at that point. But with the new JavaScript API, they have fixed that. And so now I just have to use the numbers, and it's going to do that no matter the size. And even if I resize this, if I preview this and resize it in the browser, it's not going to reset it back to its original position. It's going to keep it at the new position here. It opens up so many different possibilities what we can do with the direct positioning here. Super excited about that. Now I can simplify this though. If I want to keep this pretty simple, what I could do is take that calculation that I have here for the X value, and then I could create a variable, and I'm going to call this one let, it's not going to change, so we're going to call it const. The difference between let and const is const doesn't change and let does change. So if you're going to use a variable that will change, you want to have it as let. If you're going to have a variable that doesn't change, you can use it as const. All right, so I'm going to do const, and then we're going to do new X. You can name it whatever you want there, just no spaces, and then we're going to paste in that calculation there. And then now we can just put inside of the X value here, new X, and then we can do the same thing with Y. So I'm going to take that calculation of Y. Let's do const. I don't have to have spaces here. I can get rid of those spaces. But then we're going to say new Y equals, and then figure out that. And then now my variable is right here. You don't have to do that. That is basically optional, but it just simplifies the actual GreenSock code if you're figuring that out, storing it inside of variables, and then referencing it when you need it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Let's preview this. And I'm going to show you an easier way to do this. If you're like, Jeff, that is too much for me. That's too much JavaScript. I cannot handle it. That is fine. Calm down. I got you. I have a tool that I'm going to show you next. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and preview this. I'm going to click on that, and you can see that it still does the same thing. Okay, so this is where I'm going to simplify things. Now I'm going to update this code, and I'm going to update this website to figure out those positions if you needed to do slide height, slide width, and so forth. But I'm also going to show you a problem that if you try to do this with different things like opacity or scale, you're going to run into this problem. So let's simplify this again. I'm going to go back into here. Let's get rid of the slide height and slide width. And I'm going to get rid of the Y and X value. X and Y do not have this problem. But if you try to go in here and say scale, and then we're going to do something like 2, which is going to be 200, like double the size here. Watch what happens is I'm trying to double the size of what it currently is, but it's not going to double the size. If I select this, notice how it shrinks the size. So you may be thinking, what's going on? Why doesn't that work? Well, that's because some properties that you try to animate have a problem, and I don't know why specifically, but have a problem with this being inside of an object. If you run into that, you do need to use a query selector. If you use a query selector, it's a whole lot easier. And luckily, my tool will generate the query selector code for you. So let's just wipe this out completely here, because I'm going to use my tool now to be able to generate the code for me, and I don't have to do anything. But I still need that ID. So that's where I think the most useful thing is, and I'm just going to leave that blank for now. If you right click on this and click the ID, it'll now copy the ID for you. So now you can go into my tool, which is found at learningdojo.ninja/javascript-snippets/GSAP, and I'll also paste a link down below the video as well. So this tool will allow you to create the code for you, but you can paste in the ID right there, and that is going to be the ID that is going to animate. Now I can come in here and I can still do X and I can still do Y. If you need to reset it, you can reset it here. But the nice thing about this is now you can do scale. So scale 1.8, and then you can also do things like opacity. Now rotation you can do in the other way. Rotation we did not do before, but rotation still works. But now I can come in here and let's go into trying to find opacity. I think that might be under miscellaneous. There we go. So we're going to make it 50% transparent, which is done by 0.5. All you have to do is adjust it. If you want it to be like 20%, it's just 0.2. So that's how that works. All right, so I'm going to do that. And this is how you do the query selector code. I will have in the future a way to be able to toggle if you're going to do this by object or toggle if you're going to do it by query selector. As of right now, it's just set at query selector. But now all I have to do is copy that code, come into here, paste it. This way you don't even have to type any code. You basically just copy in the code, paste it. And this is what I'm talking about. For those people who do not like code, that's fine. Just go adjust the properties that you want, copy, paste it inside of here. Whole lot easier. All right, so now I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to preview this. And you can see that by doing the query selector, it's going to work. So I'm going to click on this and you can see it's increased the scale and it's changed the opacity at the same time. As of right now, this is basically the scale and opacity that I've run into that issue. The position I have and rotation, I have not run into that issue. So there may be other things. If it's not working, try the query selector using my tool. Let's try one more thing. And this is going to be, I'm going to get rid of the opacity here. We're going to try easing. In fact, I don't even need to get rid of here. I'm going to go back into the tool and I'm going to change let's change the rotation, have it spin a full 360. And I want to get rid of opacity. Let's keep it the same. But let's go ahead and add on some easing. I want to add on some easing right here, which is basically the amount that it slows down at the end or the amount that it slows down or gets fast at the beginning. So either way, if you want the easing to happen at the beginning, you choose something with the in word. So you can see right here, bounce in. If you want the easing to happen at the end, you choose something that just has out. If you want it to happen at both, then you would choose in and out. I'm going to go ahead and choose back out here. And so that will have a slight bounce. It's not a huge bounce, but a slight bounce at the end of the animation. Now by doing that, you can see that it's added on this property of easing. And then I can just copy the code, come into here, paste that code, and then click OK. Now let's go ahead and see what this looks like. It should scale and kind of bounce at the end. All right, so I'm going to click on that. You can see that it spinned and then it bounced at the end. So use this tool to help you create some pretty awesome animations just by selecting the different properties that you want and then adjusting the values that you want there. This is why I love GreenSock, because the code itself is still not that complicated to be able to create some pretty awesome things. And like I mentioned before in my course, I dive in deeper than that. So I dive in how to do yo-yo, I dive in how to do repeating, I dive in how to do sequencing and staggering, I dive in how to do triggering a completion at the end and having some code run at the end of the animation. So I talk about the tool as well, but I dive into the actual JavaScript to be able to really help you understand what is going on with that. And also, if you don't know JavaScript, I cover the basics of JavaScript at the beginning. So you can get an early bird special there I'm only a couple modules away from completing it. So as soon as I'm done completing it, that early bird special will go away and it will just be at its full price. So if you want to check out that, go ahead and check out the link down below. Or head on over to my website at learningdojo.ninja. You can also check out all my previous blog posts. If you come into blogs here, you can check out all my previous blog posts where I cover a lot of different GSAP, previous animations, and so forth. Also, if you like this video, head on over to my YouTube channel, click that like button, and subscribe to my channel, as well as hit the bell notification so you get notified of all future videos as they come out. That really helps my channel, allows me to continue to create these videos for you, to produce videos that will help you become a better learning developer. That is really my goal for this channel. And it will allow me to reach more people who are trying to become learning developers as well. That's all I have for today. So thanks everyone, and I'll see you next time.